Welcome to the November 7th Wareham Conservation Commission meeting. Mr. Baptiste, will you do a roll call, please?
Yes, members present. Yeah. Mary.
Joe.
Yeah, okay. My mind's not working. Mary Taggart, Joe Leggett, myself, Kenneth Baptiste, Chairwoman Sandy Slavin, Jim Smith, Rob Lassen, and Agent David Pichette.
Thank you. For the record, this meeting is being recorded and will be played on WCTV, and we will only discuss those items that are covered under the Conservation Commission's bylaws. Anything else other than that, I will ask that you table your discussion to appropriate board, not us.
Been tripping for 3 or 4 days.
Ready? We do have a discussion with Guy Campina from the Water Pollution Control Facility, and if it's all right with the board, I'd like to bring Guy up. He's had a long day already.
Please do.
Oh, great, thanks.
This is the board, you can look it over. I don't know where you want to put it, but this is the.
Can you people see it from there? Since I walked it, I know where it is.
Yeah, I know where everything is.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. Thank you for having me. Thanks, member of the boards, the Board of Conservation, to discuss, general discussion on what we're trying to accomplish out there. 21-inch gravity pipe from Swiss Beach Road all the way to the Narrows Pump Station. In particular, tonight, we discussed the area that's along behind the track of the high school. It goes along the track, and then it hits up towards the marshland and out into Ripley's Trailer Park. So I'm here to answer any questions and just basically tell you what we're going to do, what we're trying to accomplish there. That pipe is a concrete pipe, 21 inches, and it's deteriorated. There's a lot of spots that have aggregate and rebar showing. The pipe is in a very sensitive area, and so because we really can't dig it up, we're going to line that pipe with CIPP technology, trenchless technology. So we're going to put some barriers up, probably some bales of hay in these little round tubes, for lack of a better word, I call them sonotubes of hay. But the other part that's very intricate for us is that there's a lot of overgrowth in a particular stretch, about 600 feet. There's a tremendous amount of overgrowth, and we're going to go in there, we're going to cut it out. It's a 25-foot easement where that pipe is, and over the years, it hasn't been maintained, so we're going to cut that out, cut the brush out, some of the trees out, and make it so that we can pull pipe through and maintain that, and complete that lining job. And every couple, 3 years, we'll continue to cut it and maintain it so that easement will always be there. It's a very ambitious project. We're really excited about it. It's something that we really have to do. In the other room, I just noticed we have some other pictures of the pipe condition. I could show you those to give you some idea of what we're really up against and the sensitivity of this area and the wetland that's there, and it's a very important piece of land. So I'm here tonight for specific questions. I'm at your mercy, so let me know what I can answer for you. Any concerns that you may have, I'll try my very best to address them, but we're pretty excited about it.
Could you go over the time frame of the process and the schedule of events that you foresee with this project? Absolutely.
The bid has been put out. The bid is on the street for the actual lining of the pipe. We will have a first meeting with all the potential contractors next Wednesday, the 14th at 1 o'clock. We'll walk it with all the potential contractors. We expect to have all the bids back by the 27th of November will be the bid opening, and we hope to award it shortly thereafter. And then once we award it, we want to get at that section as soon as we can, probably December, January, because the ground is going to be solid. And we got to go through some sensitive areas, and we think the more solid the ground is, that particular piece we really want to attack. which is specifically, let me find it right, where's the school? Right here. It goes from Glenda Ave to the back of the school. This area is what's all the overgrowth that we have to cut out. And so that's the area you want to attack first. And then the area along here, which is all along the marsh, you can see that's, because the ground will be solid, that's the area that we want to attack first.
How much of the pipe is being lined?
Every bit of it, from this point here to this point here.
Okay.
So we want to start this here, because it's sensitive, because it's wetland, if you will.
Right.
And we want it to be, the ground, we believe, would be, have a more solid base to work with, so we're going to do that.
Do you know how much pipe you can push through?
Manhole to manhole, so it's approximately
Okay.
300 feet per minute, 289, 270, so we're gonna go from manhole to manhole. And we'll just keep moving progressively and bypassing that as we go, so we'll put a pump and some piping here. If we're doing this section, we'll put it here and here, line this section, cure it, and just keep moving along. That's the process.
Do you need,
Question, not related really necessarily to this, but is all of Wareham like this? I mean, I have sewer manholes on my street that said 1970.
That's about it.
That's about it. To answer your question, through you, Madam Chair, yes, we have a lot of pipe that's in pretty rough shape.
that
No.
will fail?
Let it be clear, no ground will be disturbed on this project. The pipes are in place, they will be lined in place. When he talked about
Oh.
bringing a pipe through, it was bringing the bypass pipe. Has to be laid on the ground to go from manhole to manhole in order to
Right.
carry the product while the lining is being applied and hardened.
My next question was, this can all be done through the existing manhole space?
If there's one manhole we haven't found yet.
Yeah.
We're still working on that one. We have a great idea where it is, but over the years, things have happened, and we think somebody's got a really beautiful garden area there, and we believe that the manhole's under there, so we'll talk to that resident and tell them that we have to do, and we'll restore it back to their hard work. We don't want to
So,
diminish the hard
Guy
work that
said
they
it's
did.
gonna be a 25-foot wide path that will be cleared, and he has promised that it will be maintained and cleared every several years as opposed to every 40 years.
40 years. Then that's the problem. If we had maintained it, then we'd be out there with no issues. So we are going manhole to manhole, and again, we're not digging anything up. It's non-intrusive as we can.
As far as the cutting work, is that something you guys are gonna do, or the contractor that you hire is gonna do?
I'm gonna hire a contractor. I started this process, that's going on right now, and I've walked it with many, many contractors, and some won't touch it because of what it is, and it's gonna basically be a land clearer followed by a stump grinder, is what we're gonna do. So that's what we're looking for. And their job is to kill that 25-foot swath. The grinder's gonna grind everything down to the ground level, and that's it, we're done. And we'll just continue to maintain it over the years, so we can always get at it. So it's gonna be, that's an endeavor, more than I realized. I just was thinking some chainsaws would be golden, but it doesn't work that way.
What's the planned growth to replace what you're taking out?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, is it, you gonna replace with grass, or what are you gonna put in
Well-
in order to maintain it for 3 years?
No, we're just gonna cut down the brush, and what's natural there, we'll just keep it very low.
Okay.
Naturally there. We'll probably do some grinding, some wood chips we'll probably leave there. Probably smother out some invasive products that you probably don't want there in the long run, so that's, just keep cutting it is our goal, just to keep cutting it every few years, just to keep it low. That's the goal.
And as full disclosure, I am a sewer commissioner, so Guy and I have talked about this frequently in our meetings. But one of the things is that we clear it, we're not gonna replant it, it's just gonna go what it is, and the vines will come back, and if he keeps at it every 2 or 3 years, go with a bushwhacker and
Yeah.
stays within his 25-foot, I don't think we'll continue to have problems with access to the manholes that took you a long time to find. We have one of our sewer lines goes under someone's pool. There is a trailer that's been parked over part of the sewer line. It's that type of 40 years of not knowing where things are, and this is what we're finding.
Encroachments.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We're gonna do our very best. We don't want to really, we wanna line the pipe. We don't wanna really cause any heartache to anybody, so we're gonna try to leave it like we found it. At least educate the folks to what's there, what we're trying to accomplish, especially the young lady with the pool. It's at the edge of the pool. She really needs to know.
So is this now a public pool I can plan on next
You know, Good point. No, it's still her pool, and
Yeah.
she pushed that way. So we're going to work with them. We're not looking to hurt them. We're going to go around the pool, and we're going to get the job done and with minimal invasion to them also.
So we have to remove a little piece of this fence, a little piece of that fence,
Yeah.
I mean, that type of thing, but,
We'll get it done. We'll get it done. And then we'll educate, because there's pipes everywhere, and you may have one someplace that you want to do something. I always encourage people, if you're going to put a pool in or anything in your yard, seek out the different departments within the town and find out, is there anything that you may be encroaching upon or anything, especially septic and sewer lines, and, you know, there's gas lines, all kinds of neat things in yards and streets, and just do a little investigation just to save a heartache in the long run. So this is going to be an ongoing project. And you're all welcome to come out at any time. We'll post as we're going what we're doing, what stages we're in. You're welcome to come out and see. The technology is phenomenal. We expect some really great bidders in this project, and what they're going to do. Line 21-inch pipe is cutting-edge stuff, and I would encourage everybody to come out there and see the process. It's going to be really, we're excited about it.
any other questions for,
No.
no,
No question.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll
Thanks,
see you
Guy.
next Thursday.
Yep.
See you next day. There you go.
Good night, Guy.
Good night.
We're not quite at 7:15. We have a continued hearing for Carl Schultz, right?
Yes.
And he has withdrawn his request. So do I need a motion to withdraw it, or that's it?
You need a motion.
Do we?
Yeah.
Okay,
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion and
To
a
accept
second
the withdrawal.
to accept the withdrawal. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 6, 7, 4, 6. Come on, Sandy, 600. And then I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
Second?
I need a motion.
Oh, sorry. Motion to close the
Motion.
hearing?
I have a motion to close the hearing, and I heard a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Carl. We can say bye. Yeah.
We're all having it.
Is there anybody here for the South Coast Hospital Group? They have requested a,
Motion to continue to 12:05.
thank you. Motion, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Just make it clear on the date.
That's December 5th, right? 12/5?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Now we're at almost 7:15. Can I cheat a little on a minute?
You'll be there. How about if we do this?
Do this one.
Oh, okay. We have a certification to compliance for John Deacon, Burgess Point Road. That will take us into,
John Powell, SciTech. Just, my understanding was that the COC was missing the as-built, which has since been submitted.
Right, so this project was for the construction of a subdivision roadway in the Burgess Point area, and the project has been completed. The commission had issued a partial certificate of compliance on this project several months ago to release some of the lots, if you recall. And so, as was mentioned, we didn't have the road as-built, which we do now have, so I would recommend the issuance of the certificate of compliance for the project.
So moved.
I have a motion. I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Done. Is the Pine Grove Estates also done?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
That one we're going to hold off on.
Okay.
There's some outstanding
All right.
issues with that
So we're
one.
ready for our 7:15 first hearing. Mary, you're going to read?
Town of Wareham, Conservation Commission, Memorial Town Hall, 54 Marion Road. Notice of public hearing. Pursuant to the provisions of Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6, A public hearing will be held in room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, November 7th, 2018, at 7:15 PM, on the request for determination of applicability for Nicholas Conley, 5 Sandy Road, Wareham, Mass., to construct a single-family home for property located on Assessors Map 133, Lot 1057, 5 Sandy Road, Wareham, Mass.
Yep, please identify yourself.
Nicholas Conley?
Do we have green cards?
No. Do you have the abutter?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Mr. Bichette will read to the article.
The project site is at 5 Sandy Road, and the project involves constructing a dwelling on an existing foundation, which is in the buffer zone to a coastal bank. This site had a previous order of conditions for the construction of a single-family home. The foundation for the dwelling was installed, but the project was never completed. The current owner bought the site and is now looking to build on the existing foundation. The septic system had also been installed previously, and the system is outside the buffer zone to the coastal bank. A concrete block retaining wall was also installed between the house and the road to contain the fill material around the foundation. So there's no further excavation that would be needed, with the possible exception of utility trenching for the dwelling. The coastal bank is on the other side of the road from the dwelling. There's also several old boats and a camper on the site, some other debris that needs to be cleaned up. The owner's in the process of having those items removed. So I would recommend the approval of the project with a negative determination number 3 for the work.
Nicholas, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Nope, that's pretty much about it.
Questions on the board?
No?
No.
No questions? No questions?
Is there anybody in the audience that'd like to speak for or against this project at 5 Sandy Road? Seeing none?
Motion to close?
I have a motion to close.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained? Motion is, we are closed the hearing.
Motion to grant with a -3 determination?
I have a motion for a -3 determination.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Done deal. Please see Mr. Pichette before you start any work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, November 7th, 2018, at 7:15 PM, on the request for determination of applicability for Elizabeth Flynn, 3 Quonset Ave, Wareham, Mass., to construct a sunroom for property located on Assessors Map 58, Lot 185, 3 Quonset Ave, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Please come forward and identify yourselves, please.
I'm Elizabeth Flynn, the property owner.
Yes, I'm Robert Goddard. I'm with the manufacturer, Great Day Improvements.
Thank you. Do we have a butter cards?
I don't believe so. Do you have the abutter notification cards?
No, I do not.
Okay.
They were sent out, correct? Were they sent out?
Would check, I mean, she had sent in all the required paperwork, Anna, at our office in Taunton.
All right. So we will need the abutter cards before we close the hearings. So it will probably, it will continue it until December 5th.
I don't live around here, so I really had to make a trip to come here. It's my summer place, and they the companies, patio enclosures,
Patio enclosures.
they had taken care of everything that we thought.
Well, it's possible that, let's see what we go with here, that you may not have to attend the next meeting if
Thank
he's
you.
willing to. But we can't close it until we've heard from the abutters.
Or at least know that they've been notified.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Bichette will speak to the project.
I got two.
The project is at 3 Quasit Ave in the Swifts Beach area, and the project involves the construction of an addition within a coastal flood zone. A 12 by 14-foot sunroom addition is proposed within coastal flood zone AE elevation 14. The project is not in the buffer zone to any other resource areas. The sunroom would be supported on post-type footings, and there's no filling proposed at the site. I really had no problems with the project and would recommend the approval of it, but we have to wait for the abutter notification, so. Other than that, I had no problem with it, so.
Thank you.
Good, thank you, sir.
Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, apologize for the abutters card. You know, I was under the assumption that this was more of a flood zone type meeting. but
Still,
that's-
it's a public hearing, and we need to give our neighbors a chance to say something if they want to.
We will get that. for-
Okay.
For the 5th.
Oh. Is there any questions from the board?
No. The only one I would have is, basically, if we're just waiting for a butter cards and nobody shows at the next meeting, can we waiver her showing up if she'd like?
I think that's possible.
Thank you very
I mean,
much.
we
I
don't-
appreciate it.
Yeah, the owner doesn't need to be there. A representative can be at the meeting. You don't personally have to be here.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Is there anybody in the audience that'd like to speak for or against this project? Seeing none, I'd like to get a motion to
continue to
until,
11/21?
no,
Second.
12/5.
12:05.
Oh, we're not meeting that.
We're not meeting at the
Okay.
day before
Change it to
Thanksgiving.
12/5, please.
Second.
So the date is?
12:05.
12, okay, that's right.
And 7 o'clock in this room.
Okay. Great, now we'll be here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
Wait a
you.
minute.
thank you for
We
your time.
closed the hearing, right?
No, continued.
We
Continue.
continued the hearing. Thank you. I didn't have a note.
No signature. The sign.
You're on a roll, Jim, huh?
Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protective Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, November 7th, 2018, at 7:15 p.m., on the request for determination of applicability for Christine Barboza, 36 Osborne Ave, West Wareham, Mass., to construct a shed, carport, and roof over existing deck for property located on Assessors Map 78-1, Lot 146, 36 Osborne Ave, West Wareham, Mass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christine Barboza.
Thank you. We have the abutters cards. Mr. Bichette will speak to the project. That's right, we'll share. You like to share?
You don't want to steal the print first?
No, I didn't steal it, it was on there. Talk to him.
Okay, so this project site is at 36 Osborne Ave in the Rose Point area. And the project involves the construction of a shed, a carport, and a roof over an existing deck. And this is in the buffer zone to a coastal bank, within riverfront area and within a coastal flood zone. A 10 by 16-foot shed is proposed, approximately 50 feet from the top of the coastal bank, which is a seawall at this location. Also, a 20 by 24-foot carport is proposed over the existing gravel driveway. This edge would probably be about 40 feet from the top of the coastal bank, and this would be supported on sonotube footings. A roof is also proposed over the existing 8 by 15-foot deck. The only question I had on that is, does that require any new footings, or is that just going to be built on what's there?
I'm hoping it's built right on what's already there, because I have a big tree right there too, so I'm hoping they can just bring it up from what's already there.
Okay. So at the worst, if the building inspector says there needs to be new sonotubes, it's going to be within the same footprint as what's there anyway. There's no other grade changes proposed at the site, so I generally didn't have an issue with the project, so would recommend the issuance of a negative determination number 2.
Christine, is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Nope, I just had a question about an approval form that I had that said Conservation had to sign this form. Do I get that signed tonight from you, or does that get signed later?
It would be later, if you come in one day.
When I see the building department just
Right.
come over?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
Town Hall is closed Monday for Veterans Day.
okay.
Any questions on the board?
No?
No question?
The only question I have is, outside of these, I have no issues with this right here, is, you got some, what's the word, landscaping filter material that's on the beach. I'd like to see that cleaned up.
Like the black silt fence.
Yeah, that was there before I moved in. There's plastic that, like, when it's low tide, you can see it coming up from the sand. So that's like, I don't even know how much is under there, and,
So when you have the guys doing the stone, can you talk them into, give them a sandwich or something like that?
yeah. I'm sure I'll be doing it, but,
That's a concern I have.
so just, okay, so can I just cut it and pull up what's sticking up?
It
I don't
looks
know
like
how
it'll come
deep or how much of it's in there.
It shouldn't be too deep. If you can't pull it up, I would suggest contacting Dave.
To see, just, okay.
Yeah, because,
I don't know how far
It
it
should not be
goes
down
on
there.
Yeah, I think somebody did that before, so when I moved in, it was already, it's already showing, so
That's
it's
the only concern
something.
I have on that.
All right.
Yeah, I would pull and cut whatever you can have,
Well,
and then after every
I
high
started to
tide,
try to like bury, like, I don't know, try to cover it, and it just keeps exposing itself, so I don't know how much of it got put in there or how much is under there without starting to really rip it up,
Maybe
you
when
know?
they started putting in that wall and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go down and attack the black
so-
plastic.
is there anybody here that would, wants to speak to or for or against this 38 Osborne project?
36.
36, what did I say?
38.
See no motion to close?
I have a motion to close.
Second.
I have a second, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed.
Make a motion to approve with a -2 determination?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Yes, see
Okay,
Mr.
so that
Bichette.
means approval.
Yes, it does.
Okay, I
So,
heard approval
I
and
know
a
it-
negative right
A
afterwards.
negative is very confusing.
Those
So-
are
Okay.
confusing, but that's a
But,
good thing.
Okay.
I know your shed is arriving shortly.
Oh, my goodness, December 5th if I get everything done. Just trying to get ready for winter.
Yeah, but keep tugging on that cloth.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be the
You're-
beginning of a large nightmare
You'll
when I
probably
start
find
pulling it.
each high tide will expose more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, Mary.
Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wareham Wetland Protected Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, November 7th, 2018, at 7:15 p.m., on the request for determination of applicability for Kevin P. Grant, care of GAF Engineering, 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass., to remove and replace a roof on a residential structure for property located on Assessors Map 50-F, Lot 169, 1 Reynolds Ave, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Please identify yourselves for the record.
Brian Grady with GAF Engineering.
Kevin Grant, homeowner.
Do you need another one, or are you good?
No, we're set, we'll share.
Okay.
We got the green cards.
Nice over here.
Yeah. Mr. Bichette will read to the project.
The project site is at 1 Reynolds Ave in the Hamilton Beach area, and the project involves renovations to a dwelling, and this is in the buffer zone to a coastal dune and coastal beach, and also within a coastal flood zone. It's proposed to take the roof off the existing 28 by 32-foot dwelling and raise it up to create attic space for the dwelling. Some additional roof area, approximately 8 by 9 feet in size, would be incorporated into the reconstruction to provide roof coverage over the basement steps. The new roof area will cover the basement steps and a portion of the existing block patio. This new roof area is within the 30-foot no activity zone, but is over existing features at the property. A support post would be installed on the existing concrete wall to carry the additional roof area. Dry wells are being proposed to be installed to handle roof runoff from the dwelling, and these would be between the house and Reynolds Ave, and would be approximately 50 feet from the coastal dune area. Any excess material from installing the dry wells would be removed from the site. So I would recommend the approval of the project with a negative determination number 2.
Anything to add to that? Questions for the board? I'm going to start with Mary.
No question.
No questions.
No.
Nope.
No, thank you.
Anybody in the audience will you could speak to this project? Seeing none,
Motion to close.
I have a motion to close.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600.
Motion to grant, -2.
We have a motion to grant a -2.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. You have it. Please see Mr. Bichette before you start any of the work.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Same one.
Gotta be
You go.
Sent an extra one down.
Running out of people.
Okay, Mary.
All right, pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protecting Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, November 7th, 2018, at 7:15 p.m. On the notice of intent for Nancy Labardoni, care of McCann and Keys Engineering, 23 Looks Mill Lane, Rochester, Mass., to replace a failed cesspool property located on Assessors Map 129B1, Lot 12, 30 Lakeview Drive, East Wareham.
Thank you. Please identify yourselves for the record.
I'm Sandy Keys of McKinney Keys Engineering, Rochester, Mass. Nancy Liberdoni, homeowner of 30 Lakeview Drive.
Thank you. Mr. Bichette, please.
So again, the site is at 30 Lakeview Drive, and the project involves upgrading a septic system at this location in the buffer zone to Agawam Mill Pond. It's proposed to install tight tanks at this site to replace the existing cesspool. The tanks would be approximately 75 feet from the edge of the pond and would be between the house and the road. There was previously an approved Title V system proposed for this site, but then we've got this alternative design being proposed currently. Hay bales would be installed between the work and the resource areas. The site is relatively flat, and there's no grade changes proposed. The groundwater at the site is very close to the surface, so it is likely that dewatering would be needed to install these tanks, and the plan does show a hay bale containment area if that's needed for dewatering purposes. I did want to ask whether or not the Board of Health has reviewed this and approved it thus far. I know you had a meeting with them earlier, so I'm just curious, did they approve it or not?
Finally, yes.
Okay.
To report.
Okay, so we do have a DEP file number for the project, so with that and with the fact that the Board of Health has approved it, then I would recommend the approval of it as well, with the standard conditions.
Nancy or Sandy, anything you want to add to that statement?
Yeah, my client here, Nancy Liberdoni, she had a previous design on this property, and it comes back to the old adage that you can draw anything on paper, but to install it, sometimes we hand off horrible situations to those guys that actually do the real work, you know. And Nancy had this design, sent it out to, 8 different people. Only one person came back with a tune of $80,000 on this D-Night system. And worse than that, it would have been approached very closely to her foundation and also to her neighbors to the easterly side of this as well, with no guarantee that
So it
anything
wouldn't fit?
Well, it fit on
Barely.
paper. On paper, you know, and once again, that's the crux of the problem.
Park out in the street.
Well, you know, it's rare. This is the second tight tank that we have designed in my, I hate to say it, 46-year career. But it's doable. It's under Title V. It's the last resort that you can have, but from an environmental standpoint, it's probably the skinniest system that we could put in this very small area that we only have 9 feet to the roadway. So property has been surveyed by Westgate Land Survey, and we went by their plan, and we came up with this alternative system. And ideally, with the tight tank, you have to have minimum 2,000 gallons, but the 2,000-gallon tank that was available, that was also H20 loading because we have severe buoyancy situations. The water table here is only 18 inches down. So we have designed this system. It's a very, very heavy system. It's got footing on the lengthwise portions of the tank that we're having custom made by Wiggins, very heavy top, and it's designed for total inundation when we get into these situations. You know, we have a water table at 18 inches, but as I say, that can rise and come at any point in a very severe form. Even though she's in a Zone X, we always tend to be on the safer side and design something for total inundation. So that's about it. It's all signed, sealed, certified by Wigan Concrete and equipment. But with that, you know, I'd be very happy to answer any questions for you guys.
Starting down this end, boys.
My understanding they're an alarmed system at a
Yes.
certain percent? Okay.
In the second tank, if you look at the plan, we've got 2 tanks. The first tank will probably hold all the solids. Second tank will hold the liquids like in a leaching area. But the second tank is designed to have an alarm system so that we have, I think it's like 76 gallons on that. At which point, with the current usage, the client actually, or the tenant in the house actually uses, when we went back to the water readings over the past 3 years, only 24 gallons a day at the worst, 19 at the best. So even though Title V says you have to have 55 gallons per person, 110 gallons per bedroom, that 220 gallons is just for design criteria only, and it's an overkill. So then when these systems get tired, you know, with an SAS, then certainly at least you have that kind of built in as a safeguard. But in this particular system, Nancy has a tenant in there with 1 person, and he's been there for 3 years. And as I say, when we averaged out 3 years' worth of water readings, thanks to the Wareham Water Department, who was so cooperative within all of this, we found that he averaged, as I say, 24 and a little change on that. So this will give her something like 78 days at that ratio to have this pumped out. And we have a pump out contract that's on file with the Board of Health. That's been signed. The deed restriction's been signed. the tight tank restriction has been applied to the deed as well. So we've covered all the parameters out of Title V with the tight tank, and as I say, it's very rare that these situations happen, but I have another one further down the road that's coming up too, that I'm sure I'm gonna get equally as bad scrutiny with all of these, but sometimes this is the best you can do, and that's what we have here.
Now, this is more for my education than yours, but is there a liability for overflow or some kind of oversight on that?
Has to be
I've seen them
inspected.
overflow.
Yeah, it's inspected every 3 months.
Okay.
Regardless, within that contract that we file with the Board of Health, you have to have that as part of the parameters of Title V, you know.
Okay.
It would be good for you guys to kind of look up Title V, and, you know, as I say, it's a last-ditch effort kind of,
Well,
with these tight tanks, and there are certain parameters which we must keep.
I only ask because I have a little experience through
Yeah.
a friend that had one and have seen it neglected and overflowed.
Really?
So,
Oh, yeah, no, these are sealed, signed, delivered.
that's, okay, thanks.
And as I say, as a matter of course, with the contract that Nancy signed with the
Yeah.
pumper,
Right.
that it has to be examined at bare minimum every 3 months, and she'll probably be pumping maybe like every 73 days or so, which is a little bit shy of 3 months. So I know you guys like the D-nights in town, I like them too, especially on the saltwater. But for this particular situation here, we're putting absolutely no nitrogen into the ground, so.
That would be great if everyone did that.
Environmental standpoint, it's even better than what the 83% of nitrogen taken out by some of the D-nights. It's 100% out. So, and she's doing this voluntarily too, recognizing this
Yeah.
beautiful place that she's got.
I mean, if the pond will come back, you know, then we're all set, right?
So help.
Question, Mary?
No question.
Joe?
My concerns were addressed by Cindy.
Sorry, what?
No, you addressed my concerns that I have with the buoyancy of the tanks.
So your contract is the pumper going to inspect is your contract with him that he will check your levels?
Yes.
Yes, every 3 months.
And make sure that the alarm is functioning at the level that it should be.
Will you ask your tenant to take shorter showers?
We're using 24 gallons a day.
Well, I know, but if,
It's not like having a gaggle of
if he
teenagers like I
expands,
had.
if he expands his family, okay, I was,
No, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
is there anybody in the audience? Seeing none.
Motion to close?
I see, yes, I have a motion, and I have a second to close the hearing.
Second.
Right, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, hearings,
Motion to grant with standard conditions?
motion to, standard conditions for the project, all in, did I hear a second?
Yeah.
Okay, I got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Okay, please see Dave before you start the project.
Thank you very much.
Good shoehorn you got.
Excuse me?
Good shoehorn you got.
This is a miracle. But we've got a very good installer in town with a stellar reputation that's gonna handle it.
And so you got it, the Board of Health was finally,
Yeah, this about an hour ago, 2 hours ago.
they don't normally see this.
They've seen this and they're not happy, but, you know, I'm not happy with it either. I wish we could have designed otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, we are now
Good night.
going to continued hearings, Cape Cod Maple Park Campground.
I thought that was,
Hmm?
I thought that was all set.
No, I think there was an issue with the campground.
My understanding was only continued for the natural heritage letter.
You want me to speak to it? We get
Yes,
Brian's name for the record.
Do you want to speak to it? Do you want to continue?
Just needs to identify for
Oh,
the record.
please identify yourself.
Sorry, Brian Grady with GAF Engineering.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as Brian just mentioned, what we were waiting for on this was the letter from Natural Heritage, which we have received, and they have no negative comments on the project, which involve the installation of water main at this site. Approximately 800 feet of water main pipe is to be installed within the existing access road to the campground headquarter area. There's also a 5 by 8 foot concrete vault that is going to be installed to hold the meter and some valves and piping and whatnot. Silt fence is going to be installed between the work and the resource area. We have a DEP file number, so I would recommend the approval of the project with the standard conditions. And I think that's it.
Anything else? Anything else? Any questions, anybody?
No?
No.
Okay.
Motion to close?
Motion to
Second.
close the hearing. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Motion to grant with the standard conditions plus adding the silt fence?
Standard
Second.
condition. Okay, I have a motion.
You got a second, Mary, a second.
I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Done deal.
Thank you.
And I can't find my paperwork.
You get to go home.
One more, don't I?
Yeah, you're up next. Hearing
okay.
for Glenn
I'm ahead
Try
of
to be
myself.
that easy.
Ferrello,
Priolo.
Priola.
Priolo.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Please identify yourself for the record.
Brian Grady with GAF Engineering.
Thank you.
Need a plan down there.
Need a plan down that end?
You got one?
I got one. No, we'll share. I think we're just waiting for DEP on this one, weren't we?
Yeah. This project site is at 6 Preservation Lane, which is off of Cremisa Road.
Wrong way.
And this project involves the construction of a single-family dwelling, site work, installation of utilities, and this is in the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland and within a coastal flood zone. A 30 by 50-foot dwelling is proposed within coastal flood zone VE elevation 18, with some of the site work in the buffer zone to the wetland. The proposed dwelling is to be on town sewer and water. The sewer tie-in would require the installation of gravity sewer line and a section that would be a force main from the house to the manhole for the gravity section. And that gravity section is within Preservation Lane out to Cremisa Road. So again, we were waiting for the DEP file number for this project, which we have since received. So I would recommend the approval of the project with the standard conditions and the added conditions for dewatering and also for using both hay bales and silt fence for the erosion control.
Anything to add?
No, I'm all set.
Any questions? Anybody here speak to him for the
No.
project?
Nope.
Hearing none?
Motion to close?
I have a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, passes unanimously. Boy, do I sound like a moderator. Okay, we've closed the hearing.
All right, motion to grant with the standard stipulation, conditions plus added for dewatering and hay bales plus silt fence.
Second.
I have a motion.
Second.
I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Done. Please see Mr. Bichette before
Now
we
you
start
can
the
go
work.
Now I can, thank you.
Ooh, almost 8 o'clock.
I numbered my paper early, that's what happened.
That's gonna be a long.
All right, we have one more, continued hearing. Linda Murata, JC Engineering. Anybody here for that project?
There's nobody here for it. I spoke with the engineer earlier, and they weren't going to be able to be here, but we were only waiting for a DEP file number for the project, so I can go over it, and the board can decide what they want to do with it.
Okay.
That one?
Eight, before I came.
Before a meeting, I'll be sound asleep after.
This is the area.
So this project site is at 261 Glen Charlie Road, and the project involves site work associated with the construction of a single-family dwelling in the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. So at this site, the dwelling has already been constructed. It's outside the buffer zone to the wetland. The owner now wants to clear some land in the back of the house, which is in the buffer zone, to create some yard area. The project calls to clear trees in the buffer zone, regrade the area, and then loam and seed. The clearing is proposed right up to the 30-foot no-activity zone line. Hay bales and silt fence are proposed between the work and the resource area. At the last meeting, I had mentioned of concern of the time of the year for this work to be done, and recommended that this be done either in the springtime, so that once it's cleared, that they can establish vegetation relatively soon after, or if not, we would have to incorporate some slope stabilization, like erosion control blankets or something, to be installed. But at the last meeting, the applicant stated that they would be okay with a restriction of time for the work, that they would do it in the spring. So again, we didn't have a DEP number at the last meeting, which we do now have, so I would recommend the approval of the project with the standard conditions, and also the condition that the project be done in the springtime timeframe.
Plus low nitrogen.
Plus low nitrogen, if that's the commission's wish for an additional condition, yes.
There's, anybody want to speak to the project? Seeing none.
Motion to close?
I have a motion to close.
Oh, you get questions from the board.
Oh, any questions from the board? We went around this last time. Anything else?
Just the low nitrogen restriction?
Yes.
We are putting that on now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, nothing from the board. I now take a motion to close.
Close.
I have a motion to
Second.
close. Do I have a motion to close?
Joe did.
Joe did. Jim seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Hearing's closed.
Motion to grant with standard conditions, plus he added one of springtime would be the time for the clearing and the use of low
Oh, my God.
nitrogen fertilizer.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Passes. Please see Mr. Bichette before you start the work.
You may go home now.
How will you know?
Hey, David, did we already vote on, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, did we already vote on low nitrogen?
In our order of conditions. I
No.
was thinking
No.
of that.
That has not come up
That
yet.
hasn't come up?
We have had drafts.
Okay, I thought we okayed the last draft.
I know we have a draft we're looking at, but I don't think we voted on it.
I'd like to get that done
Yep.
ASAP.
Well, if the commission wants to vote on it right now, they can, and just make a motion to
Inserted in our order. of
insert that as part of the standard conditions according to the latest draft that we have.
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
Wait. Wasn't there something else we were changing on the order of conditions?
yes, we are also changing language relative to having to file for a certificate of compliance. after the order of conditions is expired, or request an extension if they're not going to want to request a certificate of compliance.
Yeah, it was gonna be an either or.
Right. And that was in the last draft version.
Any question on those two changes to our standard order of conditions?
No.
Make a motion to add those to our standard conditions.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And Mr. Bichette, will you add those two changes we just discussed to our standard conditions?
Yes.
Thank you.
That'll save us a lot.
Okay. Sir, you must be here for a reason. Oh, okay.
Just to comment back on the standard conditions, like, for any project, some of the standard conditions might not be included. For example, if somebody's building a pier, then we don't need to put low nitrogen restrictions on it. So I just want to make that point, that
You might have
not every standard condition is going to be in every single
You might have
order.
plants.
Gee, up here.
You could have a planter on that.
I'd like to think that the common sense would dictate where.
Yes.
So you will
Just
remove
wanted
the
to make
ones.
the point.
Yep, you will remove the ones that are not
a
applicable for
planter.
the particular
Yeah,
project.
planter.
So we're adding number 9 regarding the date and adding number 15, which is the slow-release nitrogen fertilizers. So you'll
Yes.
insert those.
Yep.
Okay.
What happened to come in on that one?
Next,
I think that's-
extension request.
Oh, yeah. So we got a request for an extension to, this is a wetland boundary approval that we did initially back in 2014. That's good for 3 years normally. The applicant has already gotten a 1-year extension before. They're asking for another 1-year extension because they're just getting ready to build the project. I guess they've had issues and financial reasons why they couldn't start the project. This property is off of Minot Ave, between the last commercial building on Minot Ave on the left if you're heading towards Onset, and then before you get down to where you meet Great Neck Road, it's
Were-
that stretch of land on the left.
Were
It's
these
on the-
homes?
Yes.
He was planning to build duplexes?
Yeah. And so they just want to keep the wetland line current. I don't even know that technically they have to at this point because they have approved plans showing the wetland line on it, but they're just trying to cover their bases and keep it valid technically. And the orders of conditions actually are going to be due to expire for the individual house projects. So we're going to be seeing them come in with requests for extensions for those in the near future, because I think those are due to expire in February, but they're pulling the building permits now, so they're likely not going to be 100% done by February. So we'll probably see those come in.
This is a request to extend the timeframe for the wetland delineation.
Yes,
project
for
as
one more
opposed to the
year.
building.
Yep.
That was also the site that we wanted that 30-foot, no activities on to be delineated with, like a rock or rocks and stuff like that. I believe it was.
Yeah, I think for the individual projects, for the homes, we did in the conditions include that language, yes.
So I just want to have it so we remember when they come back to renew them.
Yeah, no, we'll have those conditions out, so that way we can refer to them if need be.
I make a motion to extend for one more year the,
The wetland boundary.
delineation of the wetlands.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? They got 1 year. All right, I'm going back up to minutes. In the emails, we were passed out minutes for 2 meetings. Do you have a chance to, any questions on the July 18th, 2018 minutes?
I'm sorry, I did not read them, so I will have to go with.
I read them, I'm fine.
They're okay. I was there.
Yes, we were all there.
I was chair right
Yes, you were.
now. Okay. I'm good with it. Motion to accept?
Second.
Second.
Motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Thank you. The next set of minutes that were sent out was for August 1st, 2018. Again, Kenny was absent at that particular meeting. I've read the minutes. I have no issues with them.
Motion to accept.
I have motion to
Second.
accept. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Thank you.
Wasn't I supposed to sign that last one?
No,
Or
they-
I was still chair.
Well, that's, if you like to. But that's how it came to me.
We can get that squared away and
right.
change the signature page, or you can both sign it, either way.
It wouldn't hurt to put both signatures on there.
Is that it?
Mm-mm. Okay, here are the approved minutes. Would you like to go to the Pine Grove Estates? Do you want to talk about the two Buzzards Bay Coalition projects?
As far as the Pine Grove Estates Certificate of Compliance, there's a couple of things that need to be addressed with that, so I'd like to hold off on issuing that at this time. And we can go back and speak to the other projects. There's also, before we get to the Buzzards Bay things, there's in your mail a letter from the Buzzards Bay Project, not the Buzzards Bay Coalition, but the Buzzards Bay Project, where they want to do a project here in Wareham to monitor salt marsh loss. I don't know if you read that in your letter, but in order to do that, they need to install a couple of monitoring stations, which are not tremendously involved. They would file a request for determination with us at some point down the road, but they kind of wanted to get the commission's feelings of whether the commission would support something of this nature, which I think would be a good thing, because having this kind of information for the town to be able to monitor whether or not we're losing salt marsh and at what rate are we losing it, it's just good information to know. So I certainly would recommend that the commission allow them to file their application, and then at the hearing, you can make whatever decision you want. But at this point, I think, I wouldn't want to discourage them from at least filing for this so that they could proceed with what they're looking to do.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the project?
That's a good spot for doing it.
I think it's a great thing to have.
Yeah.
I mean, there's global warming fights coming up.
That was my question,
Without a
was,
benchmark.
what was that?
How do you have
Just
a
explain
real
it.
discussion?
Right.
I saw that.
Okay, so that's all I wanted, was a quick consensus from the board. I'll get back to them and let them know that. As far as the Buzzards Bay Coalition, they've got a couple projects that are going on right now, one of which is out on Wickets Island, and that's underway, as people probably have observed. Part of the project involved them treating invasive species that were out there, such as bittersweet, well, mostly bittersweet. And they have done that. So now there's a lot of dead bittersweet vine out there, which is outside the perimeter of their clearing activity. When we were out there at the on-site the other day, they were asking about the potential to basically knock down all the dead bittersweet vine, so that way they could throw some seed to try to get some native vegetation to grow up in there. But with the bittersweet vine being as sort of high as it is, they feel it's going to be difficult to seed it and get it to take well. So they asked about the potential to either brush hog that stuff down or weed whack it down, not around the entire perimeter of the approved work area, but just where the main bulk of it existed. But that technically is outside the limit of work that we approved. So we have to kind of figure out how we're going to address it, meaning, do we have them come in for an amended order so that they can get that officially changed? Do we just say, go and do it? Do we make them put up another row of hay bales? I mean, it's just one of those things that I want the commission to sort of think about, so that way we can give them some guidance as to how we think they should proceed. Sandy, I don't know if you have any comments.
I mean, it's, we can discuss it, but we can't vote on it since it's not on the agenda, but I'd like to have a feeling as to how you feel if Mr. Bichette feels he's comfortable with just having them clear the dead debris that's up there.
Would
Since
would the vines be pulled out or left?
they'd be
They
whacked.
have to be removed.
They'd
I mean,
be-
in order to let sunlight in. Otherwise, you're just changing their shape.
Yeah, well, I think they just want to grind it down so it's low, so that way they can get seed and access it. I'll have to get further information from them to determine if they actually want to pull it up, and they didn't talk about actually pulling anything out, so they're not looking to tear up the ground, really. They just wanted to grind it down so that it wasn't this high, you know?
They've already killed it, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, they just want
It's
to
just removing the
remove it.
dead vines.
It's already dead,
So they're just sort of trying to say,
So if they went in with a weed whacker with a blade on it, they
Right.
would all
That type
fall
of-
down, would they then remove the dead or let it deteriorate where it lays?
Yeah, that I didn't get that much information about, so I'm not clear on that yet, but I can get that information. Would the commission want to see it removed off the site or chipped or whatever? I don't know if chipping it's even viable or if you'd want to do that.
Well, the other question is,
It got
whatever they
cleaned.
killed it with, is it in the
Burn it.
vine and does it then get released or should it be removed?
No, the herbicide is only active for a certain period of time and then it breaks
So it's
down.
similar to the one they used upriver on.
Right,
Okay.
yeah. So I can clarify that with them and see what's what, and if we need them to come in at a future meeting to go over the details, because it's not something that I think that's critical, that has to be done like this week, you know?
Right. What problems would arise if we just said, yeah, go ahead and do it? I mean, because that's gonna end up documented somewhere. We're gonna get bit later on by someone else saying, hey, you let them do this kind of thing.
Right. That's why I'm bringing it up now, because it's really sort of beyond the scope of what we permitted, you know, so.
And then, should it be an amended order, or should they just come in and ask for something new? And what's the benefit if there is?
Why don't they just get a
one way or the
burning
other?
permit and burn it?
Well,
Lit up and burn it. Burning season's coming.
They did talk about burning some stuff out there initially, but I think they were reluctant to want to do that because they don't want to get into problems if something gets off course, you know?
Yeah, why taint someone's opinion of them when they wanna do future work?
Yeah, so
Someone's gonna
Yeah.
cry.
let me find out some more detail of what they want to do with it, and then we can go from there. But does the commission, you know, do you think you'd want to see an amended order formally?
Madam Chair,
Get some
yes,
more
I'm
information.
sorry, wait a minute, Joe's been trying.
I've been trying for a while.
Okay,
This is, I'm more than comfortable leaving this up to the discretion of our agent on this. Can you use the mic, Joe? I said, I am more than comfortable than leaving this up to the discretion of our agent on this, where it's such a very simple matter. And he can feel that if he goes into detail with them and he feels that it should come before the board as an amended order or such, then he'll do such a thing. If it's something simple that he can sign off on, I'm comfortable, because that's why we have an agent.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up to the board's attention, and that way, if any members said, geez, I'd like it to happen this way, then I could know that. If the board's sort of okay with me taking a look at it and making a decision, that's great, but I didn't want to just do that without the board's knowledge
Yeah,
of
I
it.
just didn't know if that was I haven't been here long enough to know how long it takes for something to come back and bite you.
Well,
And which things do and which things don't.
yeah, depend,
that's
yeah,
all.
it can, and that's why I didn't want to just have them do it, you know?
Right.
Sometimes, for me, I'd rather be overcautious than less cautious, so,
That's why you're the agent.
yeah.
No, I'm comfortable with using your discretion on this.
All right.
If you come back to us, fine. If you think it's fine, because I've been out there before and it looks, I have confidence in the whole job out there.
That sits well with me.
okay. Thank you. That's to that project. You have the next one now.
Yeah, the other project has to do with the onset bathhouse. So the onset bathhouse project is going to get going at some point in the near future. And when we initially reviewed the project, one of the conditions we put on the project was not to have any machinery on the beach. So it turns out that for a small period of time, they are going to need a crane to move steel beams for the new building. And there's two places where they can operate the crane from, either from the beach right in front of the bathhouse or up on top of the bluff on the back side of the bathhouse. So that probably isn't the best thing. So we were discussing both with the contractor and with Sandy and other members of saying, geez, maybe we could just let them put some mats down on the beach, let them drive over there for the couple days they needed to be there, and then back out of there, versus having them drive up on the bluffs.
Right, yeah, that's, yeah.
I mean, as, looking at the site, I had a chance to visit the site with the contractor, and the option of going up the hill with a heavy piece of equipment, breaking the walkways, disturbing the soil and grass and stuff like that. The alternative was to a couple mats on the beach, the equipment on the beach, and it's gone after it's a couple days.
That's
But
done all the time.
my feeling is, I didn't think I needed a full hearing on it. So just a feel for the board as to how you can, if you consider that a decent alternative to cranking the machinery up the hill.
That's on the beach sound bed.
Machine that they
Yeah.
use on the beach, because they can move it back and forth. So you don't have, if they did it from the bluff, you're talking a huge crane just to get the reach from both ends. From the beach, they can use a wheeled type of crane, or even a lull for that matter, and they can park it up on the pier at night.
Any comments on it?
Prefer the beach.
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 Okay. Do you feel comfortable with a beach approach?
As far as, the physical alteration, I'm fine with it. The only thing we have to be sort of conscious of is we did condition it in a certain way, and now we're going to allow something other than that, so we might get flack from those who are opposed to the project. So
Right.
just understand that part of it.
There's a lawsuit on, to the town.
There's a threat of one.
There's a threat of one.
No,
Papers
there
haven't
is
been
one.
served. Papers have not been served. As far as I know, papers have not been served.
I was told that they were served.
Okay, then that's
But
different from what I heard last night, okay?
Not so much maybe to the town directly, but to the Buzzards Bay Coalition. That's what I heard, but I'm not sure of that either.
Well, that sort of says that if the suit has been filed, that nothing will be done on that structure until it is resolved. So if that's the case, do you want them to come back with an altered,
Amended order.
amended order of conditions?
If we have time, that makes the most sense to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then,
Time or no time, it doesn't matter. They gotta do what everybody
so
else does.
have them, see if, please invite them back to the December 5th
Anybody
meeting with an
listen to me?
An amended,
amended order of conditions. I mean, it certainly is not gonna be part of the plan, because it's not there permanently, but some type of documentation as to how they plan to attack the structure with a piece of equipment off the beach.
yeah, and I don't think they're really proposing to start this even within a couple weeks anyway, and by the time they get to needing the steel, is probably gonna be after December 5th.
Let's get an amended order of conditions.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Is there anything else you want to talk about tonight? It's 8:15, and this is the first time we've been out of here before
Yeah,
9 o'clock, so
I
would.
don't have anything pressing, no.
Can someone say the magic words?
Motion adjourned. Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. Thank you, thank you, thank you.